video and online. There is also an opportunity for the public press to listen to our new proceedings on our YouTube channel. Before the meeting starts, I'd like to invite committee member and scrutiny manager Hilary to explain how proceedings will work and to confirm that members and officers are in attendance. Hilary.
Thank you, Chair. So when I call your name, can you please indicate your attendance to confirm that the required members and officers are present and can hear and be heard? Councillor Albert, I'm not going to miss out the councillor if you don't mind, just call surnames. Albert?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Aspinwall?
Yes.
Thank you. Barnard?
Yes.
Billing Claire?
I'm here.
Billing Judy?
Indeed.
Bishop? Councillor Bishop?
Here.
Thank you. Brown?
Here.
Bryant?
Here.
Clark?
Here.
Thank you. Collins?
Hello.
Davidson? Councillor Davidson?
Unmute, Bill.
Someone find him and unmute him for me, please. Okay, I'll come back to Councillor Davidson in a minute. Councillor Davies?
Here.
Deakin Davies?
Present.
Dennis Harburg?
Here.
Derbyshire?
Here.
Frost?
Here.
Green? Councillor Green?
Here.
Thank you. Grindle?
Yep.
Harwood?
Here.
Hone?
Here.
Hoskins?
Here.
Hewson?
Here.
Hunter?
Present.
Jarvis? Councillor Jarvis?
Yes.
Thank you. Levitt?
Here.
Mantle?
Yes, I'm here.
McNally?
Here.
Moody?
Here.
Morris?
Yep.
Muir?
Present.
Nash? Councillor Nash? I'll come back to you in a second. Councillor Nguala?
Here.
North?
Here.
Oliver?
Here.
Prendergast?
Here.
Rice?
Present.
Bajera Chaka?
Present.
Shanley?
Yeah, present.
Dania?
Yes, present.
Sears Hanscom?
Present.
Strong?
Present.
Tart? That Kay's going to give apologies, isn't she? Fake?
Yeah, here.
Tyler?
Here.
Tyson?
Here.
Weeks?
Here.
So the two I didn't hear from were Bill Davidson.
Bill Davidson's lost his ability to talk. I suggest he logs out and logs back in again.
Okay. Right. The other one was Councillor Nash.
Councillor Nash is talking, but it appears her microphone's not working.
Okay, so Councillor Nash, I think you might need to leave and come back again as well. Or Vic, can I ask your advice if that's the best?
Just to try that first. Again, probably ask if she's got headphones or what she's using.
So Councillor Nash, can you A, have a look to see if you've got any headphones and plug them in, and B, if you can't do that, can you leave the meeting and re-enter, and we'll have to wait a few seconds for you to do that.
Should we give them 2 minutes to do that?
Yeah. While we're doing that, I'll just quickly run through the officers. Howard Crompton,
Here.
Ian Cooper,
Here.
Melanie Stimpson,
Present.
Isabel Alajouz,
Present.
Uranetta Katavu,
Present.
Matthew Hepburn.
Present.
I don't think I've missed anybody else.
Hilary, just a
Yes.
little note, Councillor Nash has sent a message on the chat saying the headphones aren't working very well.
Okay.
Right, I'm back in now. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear
no,
you.
the headphones from NHDC don't work very well,
Okay.
unfortunately.
We'll, I'm sure Vic will make note of that. So it's just Councillor Davidson that we're unsure about at the moment. But I think if you're happy, Chair, we'll move on. Right. So
Yes, please.
live streaming, the meeting is being streamed live on Council's YouTube channel and also recorded via Zoom. If live streaming fails, the meeting will adjourn. If the live stream cannot be restored within a reasonable period, then the remaining business will be considered at a later date. Please stay in view of the camera at all times. If for any reason the meeting is not quora, an officer will interject the meeting. The meeting will adjourn immediately. Once the meeting is quorate, the meeting will resume. If connection cannot be restored within a reasonable period, then the remaining business will be considered at a later date. If a remote member loses connection, the chair may adjourn the meeting for a short period to enable connection to be re-established. If the chair does not adjourn the meeting, the member will be deemed to have left the meeting at the point of failure and be deemed to have returned at the point of re-establishment. Only members present for the entirety of the debate and consideration of an item are entitled to vote. Please ensure that your mobile phone and other noise-emitting devices, including televisions, can I say, are muted. Please activate the mute button on your tablet or computer when you are not speaking, and be mindful that others can see you. If a member wishes to speak, they should use the raise hand button located under participants. Please do not use the reactions hand symbol, and remember to unmute your microphone before speaking. If a member has a closure motion, personal explanation or point of order, please interject the meeting and wait for the chair to invite you to speak. When requested to vote, voting will be by the green tick for yes, red cross for no, and blue raise hand for abstain functions, which are located in the participants section. To enable the votes to be counted, please do not clear your vote until requested to do so. Are there any questions before we start? No, okay. I will now hand over to the chair of the council, Councillor Terry Tyler. Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, before you go on, Councillor Davidson is back in the meeting. We can't see you, Councillor Davidson. Can you speak or can you activate your camera, please? Okay, Chair, we seem to have an issue. Councillor Davidson seems to have an issue. We can't hear or see him.
In that case, do we want to give him a couple of minutes to try and log back in, or should we should proceed really, I think. But that means that Councillor Davidson won't be able to vote.
I think he signed in without his audio.
That's if we get to the
meeting, please.
okay. Apologies,
on.
Councillor Davidson. I'm sorry you're having technical difficulties, but we need to proceed with the meeting.
We can now see Councillor Davidson.
His camera is on now.
Oh, at least we can see him. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Can you speak, Councillor Davidson? Can you speak?
Can't hear.
Can you hear us, Councillor Davidson? No, Chair, I think he's having difficulties.
He's there.
Chairman, he clearly is part of the meeting and his camera is turned on.
And we can see him.
So May I move that we consider him to be part of this meeting, please?
We have to
only chair if he can hear.
We do have to establish if we can hear the meeting.
Absolutely.
Because it won't be able to make a vote if you can't hear what's
No, I accept that. Thank you.
So if Councillor Davison, could you please wave or nod if you can hear us? Does anybody have his mobile number if they can text him just to say?
No, I don't.
Matthew, could you get onto that for us, please?
Sure, I'll make that call.
Let's assume while that's going on then that we can see him, so he knows there. Hopefully he might be able to hear us, but let's assume he is hearing it at the moment. We'll press ahead. So to start the meeting then, apologies for absence. I believe that Councillor Kay Tart is the only apologies for absence I have. Okay. Chair's announcements, recording. In accordance with the council policy, this meeting is being audio recorded as well as filmed. The audio recording will be available to view on mod.gov and the film recording on NHDC YouTube channel. Climate emergency. Members are reminded that this council has declared a climate emergency. This is a serious decision and means that in an emergency, all of us, officers and members, have that in mind, and we carry out our various roles and tasks to benefit our district. Declarations of interest. Are any members who wish to make a declaration of interest before an item? And detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under Chair's announcements on the agenda. Do we have any declarations of interest at this point? No.
Can I raise a question about declarations of interest?
Sure, of course.
Thank you. It's only just occurred to me, Chair, so forgive me, and forgive me my own group if they think that this is really unhelpful of me, but it did just occur to me. Given the nature of the debate, I just wonder whether any of us who are county councillors ought to be declaring that as any kind of interest. It may be that we shouldn't, but I just thought I'd mention it.
I think that's an interesting point, actually.
Chairman,
it's a double whammy for me.
Chairman Richard Sake, may I come in? The answer simply is, in my humble opinion, that collectively, whether or not we are representing the district council, the county council, or both, if you see what I mean, in terms of Twin Hatters, we are looking at the situation of both authorities taking a decision on whether or not we should wind up both authorities. And therefore, I cannot see that there is a specific interest which would apply to Twin Hatters here.
Chair, it was your opinion I was asking for. Sorry.
My opinion is, I guess we should declare that they should.
Okay. Well, I'll be the first to declare a personal but probably not prejudicial interest as a county councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Billing. Could I ask all county councillors to declare that they are a county councillor?
Chairman, can I come back? I mean, on the same basis that the district councillors, which is all of us, would need to make the same declaration. So I have to suggest, yes, we would. I have to suggest that this is spurious, but in the interests of making sure that we do not mess up a democratic process, I'm happy to say whatever is necessary, but I do think we need some guidance from our legal regulators.
Okay, can we have some guidance?
Yes, I'm just checking the constitution and I'll come back to you if you could give me 5 minutes. Apologies.
Well, if it's going to take 5 minutes, I might as well ask people to ask the councillors to declare if they're a county councillor as well, please.
I declare I am a county councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Lake.
I declare that I'm a county councillor.
Chairman, if I may, I did seek advice on this very point some time ago before I actually even put this motion in. And because it concerns a new unitary authority and not moving a district council to the county, it involves talking about starting a new unitary authority. We all have the same interest, whether or not we're a district councillor or a county councillor. So there is no need to declare an interest, because it's talking about a new unitary authority, not an existing one, or change and moving one to the other.
Thank you so much.
I rest my case, Chairman.
Well, I must admit, if the county councillors would be privy to most of the reports that have been created so far about this subject before us district councillors got to hear about it and see it. So I do see that there is a reason to declare.
So what makes you think that county councillors have seen information which has not been made available to the leader of the district council? What makes you think that?
It was the report that we received a couple of weeks back, which apparently was actually written last year.
So you haven't seen the report then? You just said you hadn't, but you have seen the report.
Yeah, but we didn't see it at the same time you did.
Well, let me say that you have seen the report though, haven't you?
We have now, yes.
3 weeks to read it or whatever, but you have seen the report. To say you haven't is not quite accurate, is it?
No, I'm saying that you have more information as a county councillor than we have as district councillors about this subject.
Chairman, I have to dispute that absolutely. I don't think that is a fair statement, or one based in any form of accuracy.
Well, I think it is. I'm going to pursue with the county councillors to declare that they are a county councillor.
I'd like legal advice before I declare, but I think everybody knows that I'm a county councillor anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Barnard.
And I've written on the front of what you can see that I'm a county councillor.
Councillor Home, thank you.
Michael Muir, I declare I'm a county councillor, but I do feel that all district councillors should declare the same, because as we've already heard, we're not amalgamating between the county and the districts. It's a new authority. So we'll all be out of a job until we stand, or whoever wants to stand, for the new authority. So, Chair, I think you're being a little pedantic at the moment.
It all depends on which option actually happens, Councillor Muir. There's 3 options in that report, not just one.
I don't think it does.
Chairman, I'm sorry to be pedantic, but I think you are absolutely wrong here. The situation is that we, as a district council, are debating a motion as to whether or not we would support, in some form or another, a unitary authority. Therefore, both district councillors and county councillors are in a position where none of us stand in any way, shape or form to gain or to lose in terms of a personal situation or a prejudicial situation. And I have to say, I think you are being mistaken in the stance that you are taking here.
Thank you, Councillor Fake. In that case, I'll refer to legal. We've had 5 minutes now. Nuranetta? Hello.
Apologies. Yes, I'm just looking up what it says about dual hatches on the Constitution. If you just give me a minute.
Chairman, I've raised my hand.
Yep.
Chair, if I may, have all the county councillors not declared they are county councillors, which is a matter of public record anyway? So can we not just move past this, because all the county councillors have said they are county councillors?
Yes, we will do. I just want to hear from Nuranetta first.
I haven't.
And Chairman, if I just may add to that, none of us, well, certainly from my point of view, and I think from the others, none of us consider we have a prejudicial interest here, and it is our decision. And I mean, it is quite clear, the law is quite clear. You declare a position, and it is up to you to decide whether or not you consider it to be prejudicial or not. I do not.
Chairman, I've raised my hand. Could I come back?
Yes, Councillor Billing.
Chairman, I do apologise profusely to you, not to the rest of the council, but to you, because I thought I was merely asking a question, and the astonishing bad temper with which it's been greeted by many members of this council are regrettable. And if it's that upsetting and that annoying, I'm happy to withdraw my question, but I thought it was a fair question at the time.
Thank you, Councillor Being. Nurinetta?
Apologies, sorry, I was on mute. It doesn't actually, whilst it refers to dual hatters for regulatory committees, it doesn't actually refer to it for a full council meeting. I do take on board what the members have said about all members will be affected by this decision, whether they are district councillors or county councillors. And in the spirit of it being that it would affect all members, I think the declaration would be sort of void, or it won't matter in the great scheme of things because all members will be affected.
All right, great. Okay, I accept that then. We will move on. Apologies for delaying the proceedings there.
And Chairman, I thank you for that. But may I just say that I see on my screen that Councillor Bill Davison has now put a tick against his camera, so I'm making the assumption he can hear us.
Chair, I would say that, Chair, that if you look at Bill Davidson's name, there is no microphone shown, and he's still on the phone, and he clearly can't hear us because he's on the phone. So on that basis, I would say that he is not part of the meeting at the moment. I really hope he is, because I don't want to disenfranchise anybody. But at the moment, there is no microphone shown.
Chair, with your permission, may I just interject? I've spoken to Councillor Davidson, and he's attempting to phone using the phone option. He's just doing that now.
If he can join us and he can hear us before we actually get to the motion, then that'd be fine.
I think it would be helpful, sorry, Chair, not to delay further the debate. I just think it would be better if we can actually hear Councillor Davis before you start, because once you start, then he can't actually vote on the item. If he is calling in, and I see a number at the end, I'm assuming that's his number coming up at the end. That's also on mute, so it might be he's trying to call through. There's a number at the end. Vic, is that his number?
Yes, that is his number. Councillor Davidson, are you able to unmute yourself?
I don't think he'd know how.
*6 on the telephone will unmute.
Councillor Davidson?
Chair, just to let you know, I've renamed it as Councillor Davidson Phone.
Okay. Have we heard his Councillor Davidson's voice?
Not yet, Chair.
Vic is still on mute. Right. Are you able to unmute him?
Whilst we're doing that, Councillor Green, you have your hand up. Do you wish to speak? Councillor Green?
I did put my hand up, but I changed my mind over the furore before. I was having something to say and then decided not to.
Okay, thank you. Have we heard?
Councillor Davidson, are you able to speak?
Yes, I'm listening in. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Davidson. Rules of debate. Please please can I remind you that the normal procedures and rules in respect of debate and times to speak will apply. No speeches may be made after the mover has moved a proposal and explained the purpose of it until the motion has been seconded. When seconding a motion amendment, a member may reserve their right to speech until later in the debate. In accordance with the Constitution, please can members ensure that no speech exceeds 5 minutes without the consent of the chair. Item 5, motions. In order to clarify matters for members in accordance with the Council's Constitution, only one amendment may be moved and discussed at any one time. No further amendment may be involved until the amendment under discussion has been decided. If an amendment is not carried, other amendments to the original motion may be moved. If an amendment is carried, the motion as amended takes place of the original motion. This becomes a substantive motion to which any further amendments are moved. After the amendment has been carried, the chair may, if requested, read out the amendment motion before accepting any further amendments, or if there are any are none, and puts a substantive motion in a motion as amended by the debate for the vote. In this case, I believe that Officer Matt will be keeping track of what the motions are and the amendments, and I'll be calling upon Matt to read that out for us to make sure that we're put the right wording as it goes, we go along. Okay, can I invite Councillor David Levitt to present the motion?
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, I've got some little notes behind me which might help if you can see them, but I will read them out. Thank you, Chairman. Motion to extraordinary meeting of the Council is that this Council notes the forthcoming publication of the Devolution and Recovery White Paper from Government and supports to move to a single unitary authority for Hertfordshire. Council instructs officers and the leader of the Council to work with other authorities and Hertfordshire County Council to achieve this in the shortest possible time frame. This motion is about establishing the and supporting the principle of a move to unitary authority. It's not about the fine detail of how, where, and the exact ways it will work. It's about establishing a principle on unitaries. There are three key factors in any system of local government. They are accountability, localism, and efficiency. Taking these one at a time. Accountability. In the current two-tier system, it leads to confusion and uncertainty in the eyes of the public and in many areas. For example, you look at waste, North Herts District Council collects the waste, Hertfordshire County Council disposes the waste. There are different systems and materials that are recycled in different districts, boroughs within Hertfordshire. Highways, verges, trees, parking, signage, restrictions. That can be responsibility of North Herts District Council, Hertfordshire County Council, parishes, other bodies like the Heritage and that. There's loads of people involved in all of these things. Transport, cycle routes, public transport. We had the Transport Users Forum, which was a Conservative initiative that we brought in. That was a step in the right direction to bring in all the different bodies together. We've got modal shift and impact on the environment. That's something that's dealt with by more than one body. Regulatory things are often linked in one place. For instance, if you run a business or a shop or something like that, you have different authorities responsible for different parts of the regulation. You've got licensing, mostly down to North Herts District Council, but it depends what the license is for. Health and safety, fire regulations, enforcements by the fire brigade, food safety, district council, work practices, different body again, trading standards through the county council, lots of different bodies again. Bids for competing for outside funding. We're often competing with other neighbouring authorities and for bids. We saw the situation with Churchgate last year with Hitchin and Letchworth competing for the same fund against other local authorities in the area. There's strength in numbers for bigger cross-boundary projects. A unitary would give a one-stop shop on most of these, and it has the ability to take on or delegate to other authorities. Looking at localism, funding for community, youth services, health initiatives, organisations serving more than one borough or district, sport, a business. Who funds what? Who holds the budgets? Who has oversight of multiple applications? All the paperwork, all the administration is repeated and repeated and repeated. Who represents you on a particular issue? And the links with accountability. Is he a district councillor or a county councillor? We've just heard half an hour of that, of is the county councillor different to a less district councillor? Is he representing one body or the other? Proves the point that everybody should be in one place, doesn't it? Unitary would allow elected members to deal with all the local issues, not just whether they're a county or district one, and be representative of constituents on all matters using local knowledge and being part of the bigger picture. It's vitally important, though, to maintain local representation and contact with whatever method of local government we have. And a big thing with a unitary authority is efficiency. We currently have 11 chief execs, 11 administrative organisations, 11 councils, approximately 500 councillors, approximately 20 rounds of elections every 4 years. We have different payroll systems, different recruitment systems, different contact systems, different payment systems, different IT systems, policies, and we have different policies on the same issues, particularly along things like climate change. The efficiencies of becoming a unitary would be around £100 million per year or more with a single unitary authority, and that money could be directly invested in existing services without needing more central government funding or huge increases in council tax. We've already shown it can work on a smaller scale with examples such as the CCTV partnership, building control and Careline. If you integrate all district, county, education, police and fire rescue and social functions within one single cohesive body, it will be accountable to the local community in the most efficient way possible. This is your opportunity to move to the relay and not a pay limitation, and I urge you to support the motion as I'm putting it to you. Finally, Chairman, I am requesting that this be a recorded vote. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Levitt. Can I have a seconder, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second, and I reserve my right to speak until the debate.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll move into debate. Councillor Martin Steers-Hampscombe.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I'm not sure whether to be shocked or disappointed by this motion. I'll settle for disappointed. And I've just listened to Councillor Levitt's speech, and as much I agree with him in what he said, but that's not what the motion says. It's an extraordinary motion for an extraordinary meeting. It talks about the move to a single unitary. That hasn't been explained at all. What move? Is it the policy of the county council? We had some discussion as to whether county councils should declare an interest. Probably not, because actually it's not the policy of the county council. Would the MHCLG allow a single unitary in Hertfordshire? Well, not according to Minister Simon Clarke, who set a limit of around 600,000 population for new unitaries. And I know this government's good at U-turns, but that would be a pretty big U-turn. The county's population is double that. And we're not a big conurbation like Birmingham. That's the only unitary that's anywhere near that size. This is nonsense. So what is this move to a single unitary? Actually, it's a statement by the leader of the county council, David Williams, at a recent county council meeting. No debate was allowed, no motion, no vote. It's based on a secret report commissioned back in November 2019, without the knowledge of all but a few county councillors. So I've got sympathy for some of you county councillors in the earlier debate. What's the democracy in that? It's not ruled by considered debate, but ruled by diktats. It's more in the style of Mr. Lukashenko than that we would expect of councillors or indeed county councillors. Why the shortest possible time frame? That really is shocking. What we are doing at the moment, and what we should continue to do, is be protecting our residents from COVID-19 and supporting our business in recovery, not this ridiculous diversion. What shortest possible time frame? Well, it seems to me that the view of the movers of this motion and of perhaps of the leader of the county council is let's ram it through before the people of North Herts have a chance to consider its consequences. So what I'm saying in the amendment that I'm moving is to return us to the consensual and considered ways we do things here. And I would ask all councillors to unanimously support our amendment, which does just that. And let me just clarify, an initial amendment was put forward earlier today, and we've added 2 additional sentences. So I hope everyone can see has seen a copy of the amendment as it's put forward. So why put this amendment? Well, when we take decisions, we ask questions. We ask our officers, what evidence is there for the suggested action? And perhaps there's evidence for unitaries, but not for this rush to a single unitary. The other thing we ask is, have we looked at the alternatives? Is there a need for change? And I'll refer you to the last paragraph of the amendment. In the last 2 years, I've continued the work that Councillor Needham started, working with the leaders of all the authorities and the LEP in the county to prepare infrastructure projects to build better in the future. They're ready to go and show 2-tier local government working well. And by the way, given what's proposed and what's likely to come, if we have several unitaries in the county, it's another version of 2-tier, or even if Boris gets his way, 3-tier with an elected mayor. So don't pretend that we're going away from 2-tier. That's not going to happen. But as I say, we've shown that 2-tier local government works well. And we've worked cross-party with 5 Conservative leaders of councils, 3 Liberal Democrats, and another Labour leader, as well as myself. We've had excellent work. We've negotiated with MHCLG, and in the context of the pandemic, they've said, thank you, we want to get on with it. We want to be able to build back better straight away. And now is not the time to put that at risk with a rushed and unplanned change. But yes, we do know the white paper is coming, and we must be ready to respond. So yes, we will work cross-party with other authorities. We'll look at, and by the way, the county council is another authority. You don't need to put them in as well in your motion. We'll work with other authorities. We'll look at all the options. And unlike the county leadership, and as I say, unlike the leaders of the movers of this motion, we will seek the views of our residents, because actually they're the people that matter. Maybe I'm getting cynical in my old age, but is it a coincidence that the planning white paper comes out, what many call a developer's charter, and then a so-called devolution white paper comes out, which is actually a centralisation white paper? They come out together. And so planning authorities, which are there to defend our district, to defend our residents, let's reorganise them out of existence just when we need them to protect our towns and our green belt. We are going ahead to finalise the North Herts local plan, but that will be the last one. If we go with the motion unamended, that will be the last one. And can you honestly think that councillors for the crowded south of this county will be saying, we'll take our fair share of development when there's all that nice open green space in North Herts to build on? I'm sitting in Letchworth this evening, and as we know, as many of us know, really about just over a century ago, town and country planning started here, one could argue. We'll have a lot to answer for if our grandchildren can't tell the difference between Hertfordshire and Middlesex, because we gave up truly local government without a fight. And that's why I call on you all to support this amendment. I move.
Can I ask a point of question of clarification, please?
Point of order, Chairman.
Point of order.
Point of order, Chairman. This amendment, as just moved by Councillor Steers Hanscom, is not a valid amendment. Under the Constitution, an amendment cannot negate the motion. The motion before this council is to support a move to a single unitary authority. The amendment, as it's worded at the moment, negates that by removing that single local unitary authority completely. Therefore, it totally negates the motion, and it cannot be accepted as it currently stands.
Point of order, Chair. We did take legal advice in terms of the Constitution. The wording is very carefully worded to ensure that the amendment is in order. Our legal officer is here to confirm the option of very clearly, although we've noted that certainly it's my view and the view of the Deputy Leader that a county unitary is not the right way forward, Nevertheless, we seek to look at all options, including a single union, which is why that's been left in. So the amendment is in order, and we have legal advice to say it is. And I'll invite Isabel to confirm that, Chair.
Actually, I will myself actually invite her. Isabel, can you give us your views on whether this amendment negates the original motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So it is clear that an amendment must not negate the motion that it seeks to alter. Now, it seems to me that the amendment does not seek to nullify the motion, but rather add to it in a way that all options are explored, including the one which is set out in the motion. Therefore, in my opinion, as it does not cause the motion to be ineffective, I would not deem this amendment as one which falls foul of the Constitution, and I do not believe that it negates the motion.
Thank you. Therefore, we proceed. Can I have a second?
My point of order, Chairman. I think that I'm convinced that legal advice is incorrect. It does negate it. It does remove. The motion is about a single unitary authority and supporting the move to a single unitary authority. It's very, very clear in the wording. This motion was very carefully worded in the same way with legal advice, notes the forthcoming publication, and supports the move to a single unitary authority for Hertfordshire. That is the motion. The amendment does not support that, and it negates that support, Chairman.
It does say that it could be one of three options. So it's not negating, is it? Could be.
No, it does not. It does not say there is one of three options in my motions, Chairman.
Well, it's saying that
Mr. Chairman.
The options. We're looking at.
Can I raise a point of order, Chairman?
Councillor Jarvis.
Yeah, the standing orders make it quite clear that the interpretation of standing orders by the chair is not subject to challenge. Councillor Levitt is out of order for refusing to accept your ruling that the amendment is in order.
In that case, Chairman, I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Councillor Levitt, is that that's your final decision, is it?
That's my final decision. I withdraw the motion, which leaves us nothing to debate, that Chairman.
Okay.
On a point of order, the motion has been moved and seconded. It is no longer the property of the mover. It's the property of the council, as it has been moved and seconded.
It was not seconded.
It was seconded by Councillor Morgan Derbyshire, who reserved his right.
My motion was seconded.
The amendment wasn't seconded yet. No.
I have.
Councillor Clark.
I have been waiting while other people have been making manoeuvres to second the motion and reserve my right to speak.
We now have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Clark.
Point of order, though.
I've just withdrawn the motion, Chairman, before the amendment was seconded.
Right.
Could I have a legal advice, please?
Give me one moment, I'm just going to check the Constitution to be clear.
Thank you.
Apologies, I'll just pop out.
Hello.
I'll come in if Isabel's not here yet.
I'm here now.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay,
go ahead.
No, under the Constitution, under 4.8.12D, motions that have been proposed and seconded shall then be the subject of immediate debate unless the chair of the council considers it to be appropriate for the motion to be referred to the cabinet. So I think it's up to the chair to now decide. It's not up to Councillor Levitt anymore because it's been proposed and seconded.
I would agree with those sentiments. And in terms of withdrawal of motion within the Constitution, a member may withdraw a motion which they have moved with the consent of both the meeting and the seconder. So the meeting's consent will be signified without discussion.
And that means we take a vote on whether we accept Councillor Levitt withdrawing the motion.
Agreed. Yes.
In that case, Hilary, can I ask you to take a vote?
Yes, Chair. Do we have the consent of the seconder to withdraw the?
Sorry,
you do have the consent of the seconder.
Sorry, I assumed
Okay.
you.
In that case, can you please all vote to withdraw the original motion?
So what is it? Yes. Yes.
So yes to agree to withdraw it.
No to not
red cross for no, and raise hand for abstain.
Thank you, Hilary.
Sorry, guys. Could I just ask from the IT? I don't have those options on the Zoom that I'm on. All I've got is the option to raise a hand.
Under participants, you might see it.
Councillor Frost, if you go to the participants at the bottom. Yeah. Okay.
Well done. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
May I just raise that Councillor Davidson has no option to vote as he's on the telephone option. Would it be possible for Councillor Davidson to be able to speak the vote?
Yes.
So can I just check that everybody who wishes to vote has voted in the way that they wish to do so before announcing it? And we'll then ask Councillor Davidson to add to either the yes, no, or abstain. Okay, so no one's commenting. So the
Hilary,
yes,
excuse me, Hilary, I haven't. I can't see whether I voted or not.
You haven't yet.
It doesn't seem to want to do anything on my
No.
green button.
No, you have. You've voted now. You've now
Okay,
not
thank
voted.
you.
No, you've not voted. Can you hit that key again? That's it. It keeps going and coming and going. But I registered what Hilary registered what.
Councillor Green. Just leave it alone now, Councillor Green, because it's registered.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Davidson, do you want to tell us what your vote would be?
Councillor Davidson.
Are you voting for the amendment to be withdrawn or for the amendment to remain for debate?
Unmute yourself, Councillor Davidson.
*6 on your phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. So how would you vote, Councillor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. So the end result is 20 to yes, that it be withdrawn, 23 no, that it not be withdrawn. So the motion stays on the table.
And that also means the amendment proposal as well.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, we can go
Sorry,
into
Chair, point of order, if I may.
Councillor Harwood.
I was under the impression that we were voting to remove the motion, not to accept the amendment.
No, yes, you're right. That's what we were voting on. But because the motion's still there, the amendment is still there, which we have a seconder for. So they're going to debate about the amendment to the motion. Councillor Hunter. Councillor Hunter?
Yes, Chairman. Unfortunately, my hand stays raised. I just get rid of it for it's gone now.
I've cleared everybody now, so if you need to speak, please raise your hand.
Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Chair. For months now, our legitimate focus has been on protecting our community, helping ensure public safety. We've been trying to make sure that people follow the rules for the new normal. We've all been working with local charities to help people. We've been collecting prescriptions, we've been collecting food, and I know that everybody here has been doing that. All the parties have, all of us, and I do really appreciate that. I want to thank them. I want to thank the councillors that have been doing all this work for the tireless energy they have been using and putting themselves in harm's way to help people. I think it is really important that we note that and say thank you. But today we are here and it is a bit of a mess. There's arguments before we start the meeting. There's attempts at putting our ball and going home when we can't go ahead with what we want. But what we seem to be having here is an attempt to divert us from what we need to be doing, taking away all of the attention at the moment to try and make sure things go through. What we seem to have here is an opposition that has finally found out what their role is. It's not to be helpful and supportive and questioning. At the moment, it's to propagate red herrings. No, falsehoods, alternative facts. 98 people have died in North Herts due to the coronavirus. People have lost their jobs. And all you seem to be worried about is securing safe seats so that you can have yourselves covering these new things. Your timing is reprehensible. I can definitely say that I do not approve of what we're trying to get through here. It's not good.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Chair, and I absolutely echo everything that Councillor Allen just said. But moving on to, because it is in front of us now, I would like to move on to the topic that has been raised. And you know, I've got to say that size does matter. It really, really does. Too small and something can be quite irritating and not very effective. And too big, it's just a bit too big to handle, a bit too hard to handle. So it's not just that size matters as well. It's what you do with it, how it operates. If something's too big, then you don't have the versatility you need to get the desired results. And if it's too small, it simply won't have the power and the influence to get there either. And that's why I'm opposed to a single unitary authority for Hertfordshire, but I'm not opposed to unitary authorities. I'm actually quite very much in favour. But the timing of this, as Councillor Allen pointed out, is a problem, because nobody wants to be premature. But in this case, the Conservatives have come at this far, far too soon. So surely we should have waited until we've seen the contents of the government's white paper. But as we're discussing it now, I thought I'd give my support to the amendment, which I was very much involved in drafting with Councillor Clark and the Leader of the Council as well. And it's been mentioned. Firstly, Hertfordshire is just too big for a single unitary authority. It wouldn't be effective. It wouldn't be efficient. Indeed, if you looked at it in terms of population, it would be bigger than 8 US states, 9 if you count the District of Columbia. So there's no way you could get adequate representation for the local people with a council that size. You would just have a bunch of distant figures, nominally councillors with little engagement with their community, and going on the track record of some Conservatives, maybe that's normal for them. But efficiency is important, because having a parish, a district and a county council in some areas is deeply inefficient. It's a mess of a form. It's a mess of a form of government. It's not really functional for the reasons that Councillor Levitt mentioned. It is inefficient to have the current system that we've got, and I strongly believe that. So I do believe unitary authorities are more efficient, and they should be able to react faster and use that council tax money that we levy from the residents far more effectively. So that's why I support it. But as I said, bigger is not always better. That size could just be a burden. So you just really need to think about how many unitary authorities Hertfordshire needs. And that's a discussion for somewhere else at a different time. But you also have to remember that this council, as Councillor Allen was pointing out, is about working on behalf of the people of North Hertfordshire currently. If it was Hertfordshire, it would be the whole of Hertfordshire, all the people. And it's our job as councillors to represent those people properly. And I don't think that could be done with a single authority. But that representation as well is really important, which is why I very much support the idea of a different voting system if a change of government system is introduced in Hertfordshire, because that would allow a more representative democracy. So we need that change to our government system, local government system, but we also need a change to our local democracy. But the details of that aren't for debate now. They're for discussion later on. They're for research. We need details from the white paper before we can really move those proposals on. So under any new system, we need to make sure as well that all voices are heard. And that means unparished areas as well. So we need some sort of new body underneath the unitary authority, which the leader of the council has already mentioned. And we must point out that those villages and those towns are not forgotten, because far too often we forget, and the little villages around our area, which are beautiful, but they're far too forgotten. It's not just postcard stuff. They're real people with real lives. So I do support this motion, this motion as amended wholeheartedly. A single local authority is bad for accountability, it's bad for localism, it's bad for efficiency, and it's bad for accountability. So this thinly veiled attempt by the Conservatives to seize power, because that's what it is terrible. It's reprehensible, as Councillor Allen said. So I look to the Conservative Party members here and ask them, stop putting party politics before the people that you're supposed to represent, and vote for this amendment, because this is doing the right thing for the people of North Hertfordshire. Thank you.
Councillor Collins, thank you. Councillor Home.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I mean, first of all, I feel very offended that Councillor Collins should intimate that county councillors are not representing their people when they speak. That I find very offensive. And to think that we as county councillors who represent all of the county, all 77 of us, not involved on a day-to-day basis locally, I think is wrong. Also, I could mention that perhaps 100 of the 120 county councils have gone unitary and have worked out ways of doing it with the parish and town councils and such like. I'm surprised that Councillor Collins thinks it's bad for efficiencies, and also mentions that we can't, of course, let's say the county council does now, of course, doesn't do it very well if it's so big. What you mean that things like children's services, adult care, education, those sorts of things, fire and rescue, trading standards. I think they are all county council responsibilities. Are they not? Yes, they are. So we are doing that already in the county, and I therefore struggle a little bit with some of the comments made by councillor. But I think we're aware that the government's intentions through their election manifesto and 2 Queen's speeches to devolve more powers and growth support across the country. A commitment made all more pressing in response to the substantial impact of COVID-19 pandemic on our communities and our economy, as mentioned by other speakers. Which, yes, we have a strong foundation in Hertfordshire to respond to this, and our collective ambition across Hertfordshire has been articulated through the work and resulting vision of the Growth Board, which was mentioned by Councillor Steers-Hanscom. Our challenge now is to make sure that we can secure the necessary freedoms, flexibilities and funds to make the vision of the Growth Board happen. For any deal to be done, government has made it absolutely clear that it expects to see local two-tier authorities take steps towards devolution and establish clearer and more direct local accountability. They're aware, I guess, the government is, that the expectation of the devolution white paper will frame policy proposals that result in more areas like Cumbria, North Yorkshire, Somerset, Warwickshire, Lancashire and Surrey wishing to take advantage of the benefits of a one unitary local government. Simon Clarke, I think, is the Minister of State for Regional Growth and Local Government, has made it clear that the forthcoming devolution white paper will set out the government's intention to strengthen local institutions, including the establishment of more unitary councils. Objectives include reducing the cost and complexity of local government, reducing the cost, making it more efficient, provide more modern and responsive services for the taxpayer, and to reinvigorate local communities as it's happening now in large authorities. Birmingham was a good mention. Don't discount it. I'm sorry that you discount Birmingham. It is a nice authority, I'm told. Well, the timetable and focus of devolution and local recovery white paper now becoming clearer. The Minister for Local Government recently signalled that becoming unitary is a prerequisite for devolution, and they should expect to see the end of two-tier local government during this Parliament. So to say we know nothing about it and we didn't know it was going to happen and the Conservatives only just come up with it, perhaps we should have listened to the Queen's speeches in the past and also read the Conservative Party manifesto, which made it very clear. There is costs, complexity and overlap in the current system. I was already mentioned that there are 526 councillors receiving allowances in Hertfordshire, as well as 11 heads of paid service, 11 Section 151 officers, 11 monitoring officers, etc., etc. We can deliver improved and more efficient services, joining up genders, such as social care and housing, that at present require 11 different levels, sets of relationships to be developed. Dare I mention Herts Waste Authority as a good example. You may well ask, how can one unitary authority handle all the local day-to-day needs of the communities we represent? Well, as I mentioned earlier, children's services, adult care, education, fire and rescue, trading standards, to name but a few. We know that structural reform could also result in substantial savings to the public purse, estimated at over £140 million per year for a single unitary authority in Hertfordshire, placing Hertfordshire in a more secure situation in the face of the uncertain financial outlook where we stand. More money for investment in projects wanted, no, demanded, I would say, by residents and therefore by you, councillors. Could I mention Churchgate or perhaps an A505 intersection upgrades and flyovers, or even Letchworth Health Hub, Hitchin Bypass, to name but a few. Funding will be needed for that, and we would need to be a single unitary authority to do it. Regardless of 1, 2 or 3 unitaries for Hertfordshire, parish and town councils may well need to have access to more delegated powers, just to answer Councillor North's query about that, over and above their present statutory powers, which are actually limited to allotments and winding up the town hall clock. Similarly, there will be a need for formal consultation environment in the unparished towns and communities, which has happened in those 100 shire counties that have gone unitary. Your residents are not concerned with which authority is going to help them to solve their problems. Is it my local parish council, or my district council, or my county council, or even the Heritage Foundation for Letchworth? What they want is a one-shot stop where they can navigate them to get the support and results they need. Again, do I mention fly tipping? Where do you go to if you've got fly tipping issues? Good question. Some might argue that 2 or even 3 unitaries for Hertfordshire, but then the question is asked, what would happen to the services currently handled by Herts County Council, like, as mentioned, children's services, adult care, education, fire and rescue, trading standards? Will they be split over 2 or 3 mini unitaries, similar to what Bedfordshire has done? Heaven forfend. Fire and rescue would no doubt come under, wouldn't work under a 2 or 3 unitary arrangement. Inevitably, it goes to the Police and Crime Commission, definitely, if we had 2 or 3 unitaries. I think, importantly, there is a need to appreciate the lessons learned from counties that successfully established new single unitary councils.
Chairman, on point of order, could I just seek clarification? I'm sorry, Terry, I don't really want to stop you because it's a lovely speech, but can I just seek clarification about what the length of speech is that's allowed, just so I can prepare myself as well?
It is 5 minutes, and yes, Terry has, the Councillor Home has gone over 5 minutes.
Well over.
Councillor Home, are you close to...
As far as the government is concerned, it's not if unitaries will happen, but when, and Hertfordshire should be the forefront of opting for the most efficient and effective one unitary authority. And thank you for being patient with me, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Home. Councillor George Davis.
Hello, thank you, Chair. So this is obviously a difficult motion for all members here. We have a great, I don't know which type of member this is more difficult for. We have some members who are extremely experienced and have devoted a great many number of years to making this council what it is. And we have other members such as myself who were only elected at the very last election and might feel we're yet to make our impact here. And suddenly we're effectively talking about winding up the council. And I don't really think that's a political division. I think that there are very experienced members on both sides of this council, and there are new members on both sides of this council. Rather many more on the opposite side. Can't think why. But as other councillors have alluded to, this comes down to what is best for the residents of Hertfordshire. And in all of my conversations with residents, their attitude has been a council is a council is a council, and the divisions within them are something that we amuse ourselves with and the residents could not care less about. It is absolutely maddening for a resident to take the time to look up my contact details, write to their local councillor, only to be told, oh, I'm terribly sorry. If the problem's on your road, I can help you. If the problems are with the Play Park one road over, that's actually Stevenage Borough Council. And if the problem's with the bit of tarmac connecting to the two, you need to talk to the county. And it means that even sort of a Facebook query about, oh, what bin is it this week? Suddenly you have to be asking, well, where exactly do you live? Because actually the rules are different if you're over on the Stevenage side or on the North Herts side. And we're actually near a triple point and we've got East Herts to play with as well. And the fingerprints that this leaves on Hertfordshire of these divisions go far beyond that. For example, Great Ashby is split in two between us and Stevenage Borough Council. And the result of this, until we managed to standardise our licensing laws, was we had a load of HMOs on our side of the border because Stevenage were dealing with them before us and they brought in a load of licensing restrictions. So they all clustered just over the border. And more controversially, I suspect this even puts its fingerprints on the local plans. I have heard rumour, I wasn't around at the time, that when these were first conceived, there was talk of instead of growing the villages as we have decided to do, we instead would have one large new settlement to take up all of the demand. Now, I don't know what happened to that, but I do wonder if this was a whole Hertfordshire context that we were thinking in, might that decision have gone differently? I also noticed that in the local plans that we've got, and let's say that our council would never do this, but in maybe areas around Hertfordshire, potentially unpopular settlements end up shunted at the edge of council's areas of responsibility. Something that I think is entirely an artefact of the borders we have drawn in Hertfordshire and would go away under a single unitary authority. As for this amendment, moving to multiple unitaries would put straight back in a load of these boundary issues that the single authority would remove. I don't want to be cynical, but it does occur to me that it tends to be in people I talk to that actually Lib Dems would quite like 2 unitary authorities and think that that's about the right size. And actually a lot of people on the Labour side, they say, actually, no, I think 3 authorities is a good size for Hertfordshire. And I would not be cynical enough to point out that projections for the people that seem to amuse themselves projecting such things show that Lib 2 authorities, one of those might be a Lib Dem controlled one. And if you go to 3, Labour might have the 3rd. I am absolutely confident that no members of this council would ever vote on something as important as this on that basis. But personally, I haven't heard any other arguments that would justify the sacrifice of efficiency savings that 2 or 3 unitaries would make versus a single large authority covering Hertfordshire. We mentioned COVID as well. I think despite the fantastic work that has been done by all the authorities across Hertfordshire on this, it actually shows again the inefficiencies of so many multiple bodies, because suddenly you had a multitude of authorities needing to figure out virtual meetings, a multitude of authorities trying to revise all of their areas to meet the new guidelines, multitudes of authorities suddenly having to dish out loans, and all of them coming to their own conclusions about exactly what rules to follow. And finally, it was said we're never going to get away from 2-tier authorities because there'll be multiple unitaries. But I must point out the motion unamended gets away from 2-tier authorities. It's only that amendment that suddenly brings in all of these 2-tier multiple, all of this multiple tier inefficiency again. So I'll be supporting the original motion and I won't be supporting the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. When we come to vote at this point, we'll be voting on the amendment, not the original motion. Councillor Mantle.
Mr. Chairman, I would point out to Councillor Davis that even unitary authorities actually have boundaries with other unitary authorities. Living about 200 metres from one such boundary, I'm aware of it. But the points I want to make, firstly, we don't have a two-tier authority system at the moment, we have a three-tier. We seem to be forgetting the third tier, which would become increasingly important in any sort of unitary authority. And the other point I would like to make is, please, can we look at what the actual experience is? We're being told this and marvellous things. What actually happened in Northumberland? What actually happened in Dorset? That's why I'm supporting the amendment, because it says that we don't pitch in immediately with someone's pet idea, but actually do some research and explore and see what really happens, what really works, what doesn't work. We shouldn't be just pitching in on the basis of someone's prejudice and personal idea, and we shouldn't be able to be persuaded by that. But also, we should be talking to the people in authorities where this has already happened, and we should be talking to our local residents here in North Herts to find out what they think and what they want out of any reorganisation. I'm not defending the existing system, which I think is a dog's breakfast and always has been since 1974, but I don't think we should pitch into another immediately without thinking about it, but we should actually do some proper surveying and research and thinking about options and alternatives.
Thank you, Councillor Mantle. Councillor Hunter.
Thank you, Chairman. I think actually one of the things with the residents in our community, if they're dealing with a county councillor, a district councillor or whoever, they raise their problem. They're not interested which council it comes under. In fact, county councillors take district council questions and district councillors take county councillor questions and actually deal with it. I think the thing is though, it's very evident that county deal with some very big issues across the entire district of Hertfordshire and do it well. I think the thing at the moment is that we've got to be sensible and realise unitary is going to happen. A unitary authority will happen in this area because the actual current situation is there's a huge drop in reserves across all of the UK. The list is getting longer, whether it be Rotherham, Croydon, Sutton, Greenwich. Councillors are really experiencing difficulties financially, and they're now looking at service cuts or going bust. It's not just Northamptonshire anymore. Currently, 11 councillors are at risk of their reserves being exhausted by 2024. And actually, we're digging into ours big time. I think the LGA actually estimate a £7.8 billion funding gap. 8 out of 10 councils are struggling financially. And unitary, and the sensible way I think is one unitary going forward, is something that's going to happen and will happen whether we actually vote for it or not. Because I think the government, by the time 24 comes along, will make it happen. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Albert.
Well, I think Councillor Hunter's message to us is resistance is futile. But I've always preferred Captain Picard to the Borg, and that's why I start off by actually preferring the amendment to the motion proposed by the Conservative group, despite their attempt to withdraw it. In the motion, it kind of leaps from going from a publication of the devolution white paper, which we haven't seen. We've had lots of trailers about it this evening, but we haven't actually seen it, and then supports illogically the move to a single unitary authority in some one step without any great logic or thought of what the best and appropriate alternatives are. We've heard two different figures this evening. I guess we might get a third if we wait longer. Councillor Levitt said the efficiencies will be 100 million. Councillor Holmes said there will be 140 million. Higher? Can someone else double that? 180, 220, whatever number you want to choose. Of course we want to see efficiencies. Absolutely. But I think we're just making up numbers here. And some of the efficiencies that can be delivered by unitary authorities, I think if you look in the House of Commons library, and I did have a look, are actually quite illusory. But let's also be clear, is that yes, you're absolutely right, Councillor Hunter, to say about the funding gap. But why is there a funding gap? Why is, I ask, is a funding gap? That is the starvation of local authorities of funding by 10 years by a Conservative maladministration. That's what's caused the funding gap. This is not about unitary districts and so on. This is about an underfunding by the Conservative Party of local authorities of all colours across the country. Now, Councillor Levitt talked about all the local issues that will be dealt with in this unitary authority, and he didn't mention, I know others have done, he didn't mention about what might sit below it. And I was very, very struck by the words of Steve Reed, who's Labour's shadow local government spokesperson, when he said, if the government's idea of devolution is just shifting power from one tier of politicians to another, it's not going to be enough. We need to be looking at how we genuinely and directly empower people in their communities to have a bigger say over the services that they use and the things that affect them where they live. Just moving without any thought to some single unitary authority, without actually looking at the options of what might be best for the people of North Hertfordshire and the wider public in Hertfordshire as a whole, just seems to me to be odd and premature. And that's why I support the motion that's in front of you before. And I think, and I will conclude, Chair, with this, is that, yes, I think it's important that we should be looking at how we can do things better. Yes, we can look at combined authorities, unitary authorities, and so on. But what I think we do need at this time during the pandemic is actually to look at this rationally, logically, and actually in a timely way, and not a hasty rush to actually what is, in many respects, for me, what feels like a bit of a power grab by the Herts County Council. I support unitary authorities going forward, but I actually want to review and look at this much more broadly, and that I think is the way. That is the way forward. So support the amendment, and then let's go on and support the revised substantive motion as this amendment will change. That's the best way forward. I commend it to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Albert. Councillor Oliver.
This council, as Councillor Allen rightly pointed out, is made up with many local councillors who've made an excellent contribution, not just now during the crisis, but for many years. But this council isn't just councillors. It isn't only councillors who've been working hard and making a contribution to the local community. Our highly skilled, well-motivated officers, our key workers, have been making a huge difference to local people, not just during the COVID-19 crisis, but for many years. They and their work are not just efficiencies or savings. Reorganising how this work is done, where and how these people work, must be done carefully and thoughtfully with proper consultation and consideration and planning.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hoskins.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, given my record on this, I welcome the current interest in unitary authorities. It's been some years now since we've been talking about it. And actually, I'd pay tribute to a former member of the administration, the late Councillor Alison Ashley, who first declared her support at a Hitchin committee several years ago for a unitary authority in the early days. So I could dedicate this debate to her, I think. Like several have mentioned, I think Councillor Levitt first mentioned it, I too am a great believer in localism. But the David Cameron definition of localism, remember him, which was bring the decision-making process closer to the community. And I don't see how a single unitary would achieve that. We would have to look at the white paper, make sure it makes good provision for strong town or community councils and strengthens where necessary existing parish councils, and then look at what responsibilities are about to be delegated either to the lower tier, to a town or community council, or indeed what gets moved up to a unitary authority and therefore is further removed from the community. So I think we would be best to support the amendment, wait to see what the white paper comes out, have a proper discussion on it. I would also push for voting reform. I don't see why local government in this in England should not be the same as Scotland and Northern Ireland. If the House of Lords can elect their Speaker and the House of Commons their Deputy Speaker on a electoral representative basis, I shouldn't think it'd be beyond us, but that's for a further debate. So I urge you all to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Levitt.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to pick up on a couple of points. Councillor Steers-Hanscom mentioned in his introduction to the amendment there that this seemed to be led by David Williams in County Council. I'll have you know, Mr. Councillor Steers-Hanscom, the first time I spoke to David Williams about this was at 20 to 5 this evening when he rang me. So there is no way I am acting on behalf of the County Council or David Williams or representing his direct views. So I resent the implication that I was acting as his spokesman for that one. With regard to the thing that Councillor Albert raised about the different figures, Councillor Albert, I believe you and you've probably seen the papers. Councillor Steers-Hanscom certainly has the PricewaterhouseCoopers report that mentions in certain circumstances it could be a maximum of £140 million. However, it does say in there that the normal would be around the £100 million mark. That's where the two figures come from. They both come from a PricewaterhouseCoopers very detailed research into that one. Councillor Oliver and Councillor Allen mentioned about the COVID, the key workers and all that type of stuff, with the distractions and what issues it would cause. At the moment, education and social care is run by one body, Hertfordshire County Council. Split it into 2 or 3 unitaries. You're going to split your education into 2 or 3, and you're also going to split your social care into 2 or 3. Is that efficient? Is that helpful? No, I don't think it is. Those of you who have been on the Recovery Project Board will have heard about the difficulties getting figures from neighbouring authorities. Wouldn't it be good if it was all in one place? What figures are we relying on at the moment? The county-wide ones, the bigger wide ones. They're the ones that are the most accurate. So there is advantages in a large single unitary. Yes, 2 or 3 may work better with the numbers. I still believe a single one is the way forward. It will be the most efficient and it will work. So that's why I put the motion the way I did in the first place. I did mention in my speech as well about the localism. My key point in that bit was it is vitally important to maintain local representation and contact, whatever method of local government we had. I said at the very beginning, this is about a principle. I would love to see the whole district, the whole county fully parished, and those parishes to have more local powers than they do at the moment. I can see that's why it will probably go. As far as the councillors are concerned, it would be good to have one point of contact for everybody. Yes, the numbers are going to go down. We've got 500-ish councillors at the moment throughout the county. Some who deal with some bits, some don't deal with others. Wouldn't it be a damn sight more efficient if we're all talking from the same platform? It would make sense. As far as the political angles goes, I don't know who's going to get in power. Neither do you. Nobody knows what the situation will be when this will come in. I mentioned in a best practical time frame. We all know it's not going to happen tomorrow. Best practical time frame is when everything's in place, all the infrastructure's in place, everything was ready to go. That's the best practical time frame. Talk about it, get everything done, get it started. That's why I put the motion where it did, and that's why I cannot support the amendment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Judy Beerling.
Thank you, Chair. I've spent quite a lot of the last week wondering why I was coming here tonight, what the point was of this meeting, why we were having a special county council meeting at a time when all of us have spent months and months working our socks off, looking after our constituents, looking after our districts and counties, and learning new ways of working. For some of us, that's been quite difficult. For all of us, it's been quite difficult, having to find new ways of connecting with the electorate at a time of absolute despair and misery and distrust and fear amongst the whole population. And I have just heard Councillor Levitt referred to the COVID, the key workers and all that kind of stuff. Do not call our key workers that kind of stuff, please. And certainly don't make me come to a meeting which is premature in its hypothesis because we haven't yet seen the white paper, and then try and withdraw the motion and stop us speaking about it. What a grotesque way to treat your colleagues.
Point of personal information, Chairman. The reason for that we're trying to withdraw the motion, as I said at the time, was because I felt it was the amendment was unconstitutional, not to try and avoid the debate, to defend the Constitution, Chairman. And the way Councillor Billing has said about the way I referred to that, I was not being derogative. I was making an acknowledgement to those people.
Point taken. Councillor Billing.
Thank you very much indeed. So let me make it absolutely clear. Some of you will know, some of you with whom I've had these conversations, Terry Holmes, one of them. I have advocated unitary local government for about the last 20 years that I can remember, even having known the difference between unitaries, two tiers and the rest of it. I've been a staunch advocate of unitary government. That was actually before we had combined authorities, and I think they're worth looking at as well. But what's absolutely clear is that to sit in a remote council chamber in North Hertfordshire saying that central government wants us to reduce our costs. Central government always wants local government to reduce its costs, but that's not the same as serving our constituents and making sure that their needs are met in the best possible way by at least having the decency to wait for the next white paper to sort out what's in it. Because for me, an absolute red line is not hoping that we will have properly functioning levels of democracy close to the people, whether they be called towns or parishes or community councils. That's an absolute red line for me. And until I see what's proposed to go with unitary government at that level, I'm not going to be interested in looking at that as a way forward. And I'm pretty sure that once we do start considering the real needs of people to have the opportunity of being democratically involved with their day-to-day lives, we will see those figures of 100 million or 140 million shrink quite a lot, because actually there is a cost to democracy. And I'm not ashamed of the cost of democracy. I think it's really important, and I will fight for it as long as I'm able to be involved in local government. I think this has been a cynical and fairly appalling council meeting to hold. And do you know what I think it's for? I think it's for a load of election leaflets next May to say Tories want to do local government more efficiently, by which they mean cheaper than anybody else. I want to do it efficiently as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean cheap. It means high quality and caring as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor North.
Thank you, Chair. It really does astound me, the priorities of this Conservative government until today. We're currently in the middle of an international crisis. We're looking at the biggest economic hit in the country's history, and we're undergoing significant changes in the UK standing in the world. and yet we want to talk about changing the way that local authorities work rather than focus on the excess deaths or the fact that the country is going to go into a dreadful recession very soon. But no, let's talk about this. That sounds sensible. One thing that I did agree from Councillor Davis was when he spoke about removing boundaries, which clearly goes completely against what the Conservative government is standing for when it comes to the international stage. But I'm very for what he has said. I think that the removal of barriers and boundaries is incredibly important to the future of not only the people in this country, but the future of really the human race. We need to ensure that we're working together as a united race so that we can move forward from all of this nonsense that we're currently facing from America and in this country as well. The figures that have been given today, Councillor Albert was completely right. I'm still a bit confused about how much this is going to save. Is it 100 million? Is it 140 million? Is it 350 million a week? I mean, it does sound very much like these figures should be put on the side of a bus rather than being discussed in council meetings. But nevertheless, what I do want to talk about is my support for the amendment. I am very for unitary authorities. I think that they are significantly better than what we have at the moment, and I think that they will inevitably bring efficiencies, as has been discussed by a number of Conservative councillors. However, having one authority to oversee 1.2 million people, with the estimates of that number of people increasing year on year, is just an absolute nonsense. And I could not support one single authority overseeing the whole of Hertfordshire. It would be absolutely criminal in terms of our democratic process that we have in this country. This is a once in a generation decision, once in a lifetime decision perhaps. Now, we do all know how good the Conservatives are at once in a generation and once in a lifetime decisions. However, on this occasion, with me being involved, I would like to have my say, and my say is that we should go with the amendment. We should have a look at what we can do. We should have a look at the positives and the negatives of each of the options. We should weigh them up properly, and we should put it to the residents. We should ask them, the people that we represent, to make a decision that really will have significant impacts on many people's lives. We shouldn't, as Judy has said, we shouldn't be talking about, oh, the only reason why we're doing this is to save money, or perhaps the main reason for this is to save money, because we all see in our roles as councillors what the idea of saving money is. It doesn't work. Just saving money means that we're cutting services. It means that we don't have things that we should be offering our residents. It simply cannot continue. We need to make the councils and local authorities as efficient as possible, and whether that mean a little bit extra money, and we're talking in the single figure percentages here, we're not talking about huge percentages, 30% extra council tax. We're talking in the 2-3% extra council tax to ensure that people get services that they deserve rather than services that do not work for the residents. So I would like to support the amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jarvis. Councillor Jarvis.
Well, like Judy Billing and Terry Hone and many others. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can, good. So unlike Councillor Billing and Councillor Hone and many others, I can see significant benefits in unitary local government. I think some of the points that Councillor Levitt set out at the beginning are probably entirely supportable and ones that we all understand. I was quite pleased to see his expression of the view that the function of the police commissioner should be subsumed in unitary authorities. I think there are many of us that think that the whole concept of police commissioners is ill-found and should be replaced by something more democratic. So that would certainly be a step forward if a unitary authority brought an end to police commissioners. But as has been said several times, this is not the opportunity to be rearranging local government. Now, we understand that the reason the government wants to do this is because it's found local government difficult to engage with. during the pandemic. But to be honest, the government's found pretty much everyone difficult to engage with. And perhaps the reason for that, perhaps the common factor of that, is the failure of the government rather than the failure of local government or Public Health England or anyone else who they've tried to engage with. So let's be clear what the government's motive is for trying to push this forward at the moment. It's another attempt to distract public attention from their many and various failings. Now, Councillor Levitt says he's brought this forward without any discussion with David Williams or the County Council, but it's rather interesting that his motion says that he wants to support the move. Well, the only move that I'm aware of is the one that was started apparently without any consultation with the County Council at all last year, and which David Williams announced to the County Councillors in a meeting at which he was unable to be questioned on that. So I'm not quite sure what move David Levitt is supporting if it's not the one started by David Williams. And the second is that he says that it should be done as rapidly as possible, or as quickly as possible, I think it said. It seems to me that there is no justification for doing it as quickly as possible. There is some scope for improving the way that local government works, but we need to make sure that local government continues to work at this critical time while we're doing that. And the amendment suggests some ways forward that we can take that will produce the benefits for the people of Hertfordshire without just jumping on the bandwagon started by Councillor Williams, David Williams. So I'm going to support the amendment, and I hope that this will give us a way forward in agreement, not just across the district and the boroughs and the county in Hertfordshire, but with the people of Hertfordshire as well. So I should be supporting the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Chairman. Firstly, I don't believe this amendment, and what I say, I believe this amendment actually doesn't negate the original motion that we had from the Conservative group. And again, I'm sure we'll discuss that with legal after the event of this, but we are in a position now that the administration has decided that we will debate their amendment, and they want to use that to have a good old knock at the Conservatives like they always want to do, which is a real shame when they talk about wanting to be a welcoming and inclusive council. But anyway, apart from that, let's go on and actually look at what we're talking about. A single unitary authority for Hertfordshire. There's many of us, I think, can see the benefits of what thinking big would do. And in fact, I find it quite strange that after we've had our peer review where we were visited and there was a lot of talk about the vision that this council should have for the future, and also that we should be brave, we should be embracing. So the fact that there seem to be a number of members that want to stick and not look at any particular change because they fear it might be to a disadvantage or whatever, this is only going to be looking at the best interest for the whole of Hertfordshire and to come in with some efficiencies. And we've had many examples across different services, and the way that I think we all know, because we all probably have friends that live in different boroughs or local authority or other district councils where they do things differently. And it is, I think most people think it is quite bizarre that Hertfordshire has not got a lot of joined up thinking and using best practice across the whole of the patch here. To say that for 1.2 million, it's too many people when Hertfordshire County Council is running probably the biggest and significant services that people receive in terms of education, social services, etc. And to know that there are the differences that sometimes we see within districts having to work with county and for residents, they don't, I think as it was said earlier, they don't particularly care where those services come, provided they get them and provided they're efficient and they meets their needs. So I think that there's been an awful lot of talk about some political motive. I don't see that at all. We discussed this in our group. I shouldn't probably share that with you. And what we saw is that unitary authorities is coming. So why is Hertfordshire not just opening its arms, being abrasive, trying to be one of the first authorities that moves to it, so that we can be leaders in as councils have to move into the unitary authority mode. I mean, Councillor Judy Billing has long talked, and all the experience she's had in local government. I think if she really explores her heart, she'll know that this is the right thing that we should be doing, and we should be a leading authority in going to embrace this. to try and talk about splitting it and whether it's 1 or 2 or whatever political advantage that might be looked at. If when those that are looking at it decided that one authority was too much, I'm sure they'd come back. But as soon as we start moving to multiple unitary authorities across Hertfordshire, that means splitting the schools into two or 3. That means splitting social care services into 2 or 3. Those departments seem to work totally adequately well. So why can't we collect our waste across? Why can't we deliver leisure across Hertfordshire? You know, those are services we should be looking to have ambition and saying, yes, we can do it. Let's think big, let's be ambitious, and let's go for a good future for Hertfordshire and for all our residents, whether they be in North Herts or whether they be in Broxbourne or Hemel Hempstead or St Albans, wherever those residents live. Let's just have a single service that's across the board for Hertfordshire that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Chair. I've listened to this debate with interest, and in my sort of 6 or 7 years in the council, I can safely say I'm really disappointed with the debate and the tempers of some of the councillors this evening. I really feel quite offended at the blanket accusation that the Conservatives have brought this motion from a politically motivated perspective, when it's quite clear to anybody that understands politics that the amendment is completely politically motivated in its amendment. And I challenge anyone to say, I genuinely challenge anyone to say that I've prioritized politics over the local residents. I believe what the residents want in every piece of casework that I get is a single point of accountability. They don't want me telling them whether that piece of grass over there is county council or that piece of grass over there is district council. Look at my election literature from the last election. I stood on this point about a unitary authority. There's a lot of argument about saving money and this is why we're doing it, and that the Conservative government should give more money to local councils. Well, yes, of course they should. And, you know, that's a sensible thing to say. But saving money is a byproduct of efficiency. And why would we not want to be efficient? But people seem to be arguing against being efficient. Well, efficiency is sensible. And if the byproduct of that is saving money that we can invest in services, great. I agree on this point about keeping it local and is too big, too big. But if we have an efficient system with a point of accountability and the whole district is parished, and therefore we are ultra local, but with a big system and a single point of accountability, then that is good. I think what the amendment, what is odd about the amendment, I find it very strange, is I challenge again the Labour and Liberal Democrats that have talked about a 2 or 3 version system. Why would you want to break a system apart with schools and social care that is currently working? And you're talking about breaking that into 3 ways. And then on the flip side of that coin, we're saying take 11 systems, waste collection, and putting it into 1 to put it alongside a school system to make it more efficient is a good thing. And you're saying, no, absolute rubbish. That's not the way ahead. So I'm afraid I'll sort of end there and sort of say I absolutely can't support the amendment. I just don't understand it. It's illogical. I support the motion as originally brought, but not the amendment. And I'll just finish off again by saying I feel really offended by the accusation that this has been brought from a political perspective, when absolutely all I am trying to do, and I know for a fact all my colleagues are trying to do, is make this better for the residents of Hertfordshire. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thake.
Thank you, Chairman.
Chair, can I just point of order, Chair? It's normally at 9 o'clock we would ask for a break.
I won't be long. Trust me, Chairman, I could do with a break too. You know, a benign prostrate at my age and that sort of stuff. But no, Chairman, I don't want to get political. I really don't.
So I think we call a break.
I think I've just got Richard as the last speaker who wants to speak, and we can go to the vote. So
I won't be long. I won't be long, Chairman. I promise you. Chairman, look, I don't want to get political, and I'm not going to get political, because from my point of view, I've heard quite clearly that there is a consensus from all sides of our chamber, our virtual chamber, to try and get more sensible about the way in which local governance is handled, and the efficiencies of the unitary authorities, I think, is pretty much clear to all of us. And I've heard nobody actually turn around and say, we do not want to do this. So I'm going to keep away from the turkeys and Christmas bit, but I go back to the point that was made by Terry Hone and by Claire Strong and by others. Essentially, the county council's current budget nudges towards £1 billion a year, a huge amount of money, nudges towards it. With this COVID thing and all the additional stuff, it may well have crept over. I don't know. Of which the lion's share, and I mean the lion's share, possibly 3/5, maybe even 2/3, goes into social services and stuff which the majority of us, thank the Lord, never ever see. If we don't need that help, we don't get it, and we don't even know it's being delivered. And it's being delivered from a central situation within the county council, with a very, very hard-working bunch of people, in essence, looking after those of us who are needy and deserving of assistance and help. And I just the point I want to make, Chairman, is it is absolute nonsense to suggest that you cannot deliver effective and useful services from an efficient point of view from a central point. When you come down to the democratic, hands-on, touchy-feely situation where you need to relate to individuals, we have all learnt, and Judy first amongst us, that there are other ways of dealing with situations. This current COVID situation, for example, where I've had people email me, I've had people phone me, I've had people come to me on the computer. I have continued to deliver what I hope is an efficient and caring local councillor role, and I'm a county councillor. So it doesn't matter to me whether or not we are one authority, or whether we are two authorities, or whether we are three.
On a point of order, Chair.
I just want to make sure.
On a point of order, Chair, there has been a request for a break. I think dogs are wetting floors and other people are uncomfortable. I don't think it's absolutely unacceptable not to accept that we have a break. Now, Richard is
I'll wind up.
5 minutes. But
I'll wind up, Chairman.
Really, that's not acceptable, Chair.
My point is quite straightforward, that I think I cannot agree that it is impossible to deliver effective services. I think to dilute it into 2 or 3 would dilute the capacity to save what we need to save, to redirect into those services, and I cannot support the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Fake. The reason why I'm just wondering, because we've got no other speakers, I wanted to go to the vote, because if we come out of this and have a break, then it will take ages to get us all back in again.
To have a break in a moment.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Allen.
There are a number of people, Chair, that really do require a break.
Yeah, Chairman, we have to take a vote on the amendment. I have a right to apply, and then we have a vote on the substantive. Yeah. We do need a break, please.
Okay.
Chairman.
Okay. All right. Do you want 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
5.
5 minutes. Okay. 21, 26. We'll be back then. We'll have to go through the process of everybody logging back in.
Thank you, Chairman, for indulging me and allowing me to speak and before you did it. Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Okay, everybody have a break.
If you could all mute yourselves and turn your cameras off, that would be useful. Thank you.
Hilary. Hilary?
Yes, Chair.
When we come back in, when we actually do state the vote, can I ask Matthew to read out the proposed amendment for us?
Yes, it's actually the amendment that's on the mod.gov system, but yes, we can read it out.
Yeah,
that's not a problem.
Like it read out.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah.
Hilary,
okay, thank you.
Hilary and Terry, don't forget it's a recorded vote. The Tories requested it right at the beginning.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you, Sam.
And Terry, I'm not sure that David Levitt has a right of reply. Sorry, I haven't got my video on.
Hi.
I'm not sure he has a right of reply if the motion is amended. Could we ask Isabel to look that one up, please? Because I think right of reply only applies if you if the motion is not amended. If we can check that one.
Isabel, are you still with us?
Yeah, can I just remind we are still live on YouTube?
Thank you, Vic. That's what I was trying to find my unmute button to say that. We are still live, so please
okay.
have this conversation elsewhere. Thank you.
We'll look at that in a minute, Martin.
Well done, Terry.
Hi, Keith. Thanks. If we can bring everybody together now, please. I think the 5 minutes is up. Hilary, I'm going to ask you to do a roll call, of course. Welcome back. Can I ask you to switch on your videos, please, and come back?
Chair, just whilst we're resuming, could I take the opportunity to just question IT about something?
Of course, Councillor Harwood.
IT, can you hear me wherever you are?
Councillor Howard, I can, but we are still live on YouTube.
That's fine. It's not an embarrassing IT question. I was under the impression, or at least has previously happened, in the participant bar when we vote, it clustered all of the votes, so the yes, the no's, and the maybes, into sections. This evening, it doesn't seem to be doing that. It just seems to be staying in the name order. Have I changed some setting, or is that just a change to Zoom?
A very interesting question,
Never
Councillor
clustered, as far as I was concerned, Simon. It's
Sorry,
always
Ian?
been like this.
Say again, Ian. Sorry, I missed you. You broke up.
It's never clustered in the way you suggested, Simon. It's always been like this.
Can I help? Can I help, Simon? Simon,
yeah.
If you abstain, in other words, you use the raise hand, that goes up to the top. So if there are a lot of abstentions, then that's why it appeared that way. And I believe that your group did a lot of abstaining in a recent meeting.
Oh, that's why it
you
was
saw that.
clustered than Martin. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I can confirm that that's how I keep track of who wants to speak, is that somebody raises their hand, it clusters at the top of my participants list. Can we have is everybody back? Hilary, can I ask for a roll call?
Yes, certainly, Chair. I'm just going to call your surnames again, please. So we'll start with Councillor Albert.
Yes.
Alan.
Yes, and also, unfortunately, if you go back over the YouTube video, you will hear that somebody did swear while the thing was off.
Aspinwall.
Right.
Yep, I'm here.
Barnard.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Billing Claire.
Yeah, I'm here.
Billing Judy.
Yes.
Bishop.
Oh dear.
Councillor Bishop.
He's muted. He's muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Here.
Bryant.
Here.
Clark.
Present.
Collins.
Hello again.
I believe Councillor Davidson has left the meeting. Councillor Davies.
Yeah.
Deakin Davies.
Present.
Dennis Hardberg.
Here.
Derbyshire.
Present.
Frost.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Grindle.
Yeah.
Harwood.
Hello.
Hone.
Yeah.
Hoskins.
Yeah, here.
Hewson.
Yeah.
Hunter.
Present.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Levitt.
Yeah.
Mansell.
Yeah.
McNally.
Yeah.
Moody.
Here.
Morris.
Yeah.
Muir.
Present.
Nash.
Yes.
Nguala.
Yeah.
North.
Here.
Oliver.
Here.
Prendergast.
Here.
Rice. Councillor Rice.
Present.
Thank you. Wajiro Chaka.
Present.
Shanley.
Yes, please. Yeah, please.
Stania.
Here.
Steers Hanscom.
Here.
Strong.
Present.
Fake.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Tyson.
Yes.
Weeks.
Here.
Quickly through the officers. Howard Crompton.
Here.
Ian Cooper.
Here.
Melanie Stimson.
Here.
Isabel Allergers.
Here.
Murinetta Katavu.
Present.
Matthew Hepburn.
Present.
That's everyone, Chair.
Thank you, Hilary. I was considering that the debate was over, but I just realised that Councillor Green has a hand up. If you wish to speak. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Chair. Since 1977, like Judy, I've been in authority for quite some time. The words unitary authority have been bandied about throughout several different governments and years, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. And each time it's something to do with the fact that the councils are not getting enough money from government. So perhaps now it's time to become one unitary authority in Hertfordshire for our residents to have their money spent that they are spending to give them the services they require. And I shall be voting for the motion and against the amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Would anybody else like to speak? In that case, I'm going to take us to the vote for the amendment. But first, if I could ask Matthew to read out the amendment so everybody can hear it verbally.
Sure, Chair. I'll also share it on the screen so that you can see it as well.
That'd be great. Yes, thank you.
This council notes the forthcoming publication of the Devolution and Recovery White Paper from government. It supports the consideration of unitary options and other alternative arrangements. However, it does not support any particular option, as if so would be premature. It awaits the publication of the white paper before coming to any conclusions. The council additionally notes the public statements of the leader and deputy leader, as well as a number of administration group members, which state opposition to a single unitary authority for Hertfordshire. It believes that any change to the current local government structure must be carried through in the interest of the residents of North Hertfordshire. Furthermore, to ensure adequate representation of the electorate, this council believes that with any changes to the current arrangements, a more representative voting system would be introduced, and that in the case of any unitary options, properly resourced democratic bodies are planned for the unparished areas. Council instructs officers and the leader and deputy leader of the council to work with other authorities to investigate all the options that meet this criteria and to seek the views of residents so that we are prepared to respond to the white paper when it is published. It notes the progress of collaborative working between all the Hertfordshire districts and boroughs, the County Council, the Local Enterprise Partnership and MHCLG to achieve the best possible recovery and future investment for the county, and reaffirms its support for this work.
Thank you, Matthew. There was a point of order raised, and I can confirm that Councillor Levitt does have a right to reply. It was challenged. But first of all, we move to the vote. So Hilary, can you take us through the vote for this particular amendment?
Just to comment, Chair, that the recorded vote was actually asked for on the motion, not on the amendment. So at the moment, it's not a recorded vote.
Yes, and the vote needs to be recorded, yes.
Well, someone needs to ask for that to happen.
It has been asked for. It was asked by Councillor Levitt, I think.
No, that was on the motion, on the original motion, not on the amendment.
Chair, I confirm that's correct. I asked for a recorded vote on the original motion, not the amendment. However, if it helps, I will now call for a recorded vote on the amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Levitt.
Matthew, just to make things easier, can you please, thank you. I was going to say, can you please on share? Thank you. So we're voting on the amendment that's just been read out. If I call your name, can you please indicate for, against or abstain? Ian Albert.
For the amendment.
Daniel Allen.
For the amendment.
Kate Aspinwall, I believe you were out of the room for part of the discussion.
Don't believe so.
Yes, sorry, yes. Okay, Councillor Barnard. Sorry, Councillor Aspinwall, what, am I right in saying you were out of the room for part of the...
No, I don't believe I was. No, Hilary.
Is your vote for, against or abstain?
Vote is for the amendment.
Councillor Barnard.
Against.
Councillor Claire Billing.
For.
Councillor Judy Billing.
For.
Councillor John Bishop.
Against.
Councillor Ruth Brown.
For.
Councillor Val Bryant.
For.
Councillor Paul Clark.
For the amendment.
Councillor Sam Collins.
Very definitely for the amendment.
Councillor Davidson has left the room. Councillor George Davies.
Against the amendment.
Councillor Deakin Davies.
Against the amendment.
Councillor Dennis Harburg.
For the amendment.
Councillor Morgan Derbyshire.
Against the amendment.
Councillor Faith Frost.
Against.
Councillor Jean Green. Councillor Green.
Against the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Gary Grindle.
For.
Councillor Simon Harwood.
Against.
Councillor Terry Hone.
Against.
Councillor Keith Hoskins.
For the amendment.
Councillor Mike Hewson.
For the amendment.
Councillor Tony Hunter.
Against.
Councillor Steve Jarvis.
For.
Councillor David Levitt.
Against.
Councillor Ian Mantle.
For.
Councillor Jim McNally.
Against.
Councillor Ian Moody.
Against.
Councillor Gerald Morris.
Against.
Councillor Michael Muir.
Against.
Councillor Lisa Nash.
For the amendment.
Councillor Sue Nguala.
For the amendment.
Councillor Sam North.
For the amendment.
Councillor Helen Oliver.
For the amendment.
Councillor Sean Prendergast.
For the amendment.
Councillor Michael Rice.
Against the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Rajir Katcheka.
For the amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Val Shanley.
Sorry, against, Hilary, against.
Thank you. Councillor Carol Stanier.
For the amendment.
Councillor Steers Hanscom.
For.
Councillor Claire Strong.
Against.
Councillor Richard Thake.
Against the amendment.
Councillor Terry Tyler.
For the amendment.
Councillor Tom Tyson.
For.
And Councillor Michael Weeks.
Against.
Give me 2 seconds to make sure my adding up's right. Thank you.
Point of order, Chair, while Hillary's doing the adding up.
Yes, Councillor Collins.
If a councillor isn't visible at this stage, will they be able to take part in the next vote? Because one councillor has left, that clearly left, and now is not on camera at all.
There isn't a next vote.
There should be a vote on the motion as amended, no?
That's what we're voting on now.
Chair, there'll be a vote on the substantive motion because this amendment will be carried once Hilary confirms that, and therefore that becomes a substantive motion which you then need to vote upon.
Oh, apologies. Yes, if somebody's left you and they've been noticed they're not there, then they'll no longer be able to vote.
So Councillor Bishop was left after he voted and didn't return, and on screen clearly walked out of the room and then came back, and then he was off camera until just now, till I just raised this point of order.
In that case, okay. Which councillor, sorry?
Councillor Bishop.
Councillor Bishop will not be able to vote.
Apologies, Councillor Bishop, but you were on my screen, so I couldn't ignore it.
Can I reply to that? Hello?
Councillor Bishop?
No, I don't understand. I voted, I listened to the whole debate and voted.
There's another vote, Councillor Bishop, that we have to have.
But I'm here. I just put my finger on that's all. I should be there.
Can I refer to Hilary? What's your view?
I'm going to leave it up to Isabel. She's the legal person to say, but I know what my view is, but I'll leave it to Isabel to.
Yeah, Isabel, could I ask you to give your view?
Of course. Hello. So in order to vote on the item, the member must be present for the entirety of the debate and consideration of that item. So it's my understanding that Councillor Bishop was there for the debate and the consideration.
But he left. He from what I can gather is that Councillor Bishop then went out of view from the camera for a number of seconds. I'm not sure how long, but Councillor Collins noticed and brought it to our attention. Does that make a difference? Councillor Bishop.
No debate was taking place.
There was no debate or anything taking place at that time. Therefore, he has not missed any of the debate.
Okay, let's go with that.
I would agree.
All right, thank you.
The result of the recorded vote on the amendment is 25 for and 20 against. So the amendment is carried. You now need to vote on the substantive motion, which is now the amended version.
David, Councillor Levitt wanted a right to reply. Is that come before or after the substantive vote?
Before, Chairman. You can't. I have a right to reply
before
the vote is put.
May I call you upon you, David, to?
Thank you, Chairman. You may be surprised to learn that I will be voting for the motion as amended. I started this evening by saying the motion is about establishing and supporting the principle of a move to unitary authority, not about the fine detail. It was a very simple motion to create the debate on unitary authorities. Very simple. There was no political points got in it. There was no knocks at other government, nothing like that. It was a very straightforward motion. I'm sad to say that some members tonight chose to use it to have a dig at people personally, have a dig at national politics, try and score political points. That's not what it was about. It was trying to get the best system, as I said, to give accountability, localism and efficiency to the people what we represent. That's what it was about. And it's sad that it has been watered down, which it has, I believe, now, because we had a nice, clear point to start from. Now we haven't. It's a bit wishy-washy. However, at least we've debated it tonight. At least we've got something going on the books about it. At least we've acknowledged that there is good things about being efficient and about bringing unitaries or a decent alternative in. I think that what everybody's recognised is that we need to look at the way we act as local representatives and the way we govern locally. So that is why I will support the somewhat watered down motion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Levitt. In that view, Hilary, can you take us through the substantive vote?
Yes, so you're now voting on the motion that was read out as amended, and we're going to do it as a recorded vote as that was called for originally.
Right.
So I'll just quickly run through it again. So if you can either say for, against, or abstain as I call your name, please.
Chair,
So,
I don't know why, sorry, point of order, Chair, but Councillor Allen has his hands raised. I'm not sure whether he's trying to speak or not. Sorry, I'll speak on his behalf.
I actually, I've assumed that there's a couple of symbols up there, and I thought it was that actually voting online rather than when Hilary asked them. Good point though. So Councillor, no, they've gone. They're cleared. Okay. Hilary, if you can continue then.
okay. So if you can say for, against, or abstain as you just have, please. Ian Albert.
Delighted that Councillor Levitt is now agreeing with us. For.
Alan.
No U-turn from me. For.
Aspinwall.
For.
Barnard.
For.
Billing. Claire, sorry.
For.
Billing Judy. Councillor Billing Judy.
Good thing my mic was off. What I actually said was for, but deeply frustrated to have gone through all this.
Councillor Bishop.
I noticed it on my screen with the resolution.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Bryant.
For.
Clark.
For the motion as amended.
Thank you. Collins.
For.
Davidson. Oh, he's gone. Davis.
For.
Deakin Davis.
For.
Harburg.
For.
Derbyshire.
Abstain.
Frost.
With no unnecessary comment. For.
Oh God.
Thank you. Green.
With regret that we have to vote with the amendment for.
Grindle.
For.
Harwood.
For.
Hone.
For.
Hoskins. Councillor Hoskins.
Sorry, Hilary, for.
Thank you. Hewson.
For.
Hunter.
For.
Jarvis.
For.
Thank you. Levitt.
For.
Mansell.
For.
McNally.
For.
Moody.
For.
Morris.
For.
Muir.
For.
Nash.
For.
Nguala.
For.
North.
For.
Oliver.
For.
Prendergast.
For.
Rice.
For.
Rogera Chaka.
For.
Shanley.
For.
Stania.
For.
Sears Hanscom.
For.
Strong.
Abstain.
Fake. Councillor Fake.
Councillor Fake.
Right, I apologise. I was pressing a button and it wasn't working. Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Tyler.
For.
Tyson.
Councillor Tyson.
For.
And Councillor Weeks.
For.
Thank you. That is carried. Thank you.
What was the final result, Hilary?
Do you want me to actually count them up? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie.
Please, can we go now?
Yes, I'm just going to close the meeting. Okay, thank you very much for your time and patience during this debate. I wished it was a little bit more friendly than it was, but that's the way things went. Thank you for your time. And
thank you, Terry. Thank you, Terry.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Terry, for your
and Hilary and Mel and everybody.